Is the royal government of the fifth mandate really illegitimated? Under the management of the National Election Committee (NEC), Cambodia held the general election for the fifth mandate of the National Assembly on 28 July 2013 in a free, fair and transparent manner. The NEC did its best to comply with the Constitution of Cambodia and the law on the election of the member of National Assembly, Lemna, as verified by His Excellency Tevnitha, Secretary General of the NEC, as follows.
We were well prepared for this election since the beginning through voter registration, candidate registration, election campaign, and the election itself. Compared to voter lists in some other country, the voter list for the 2013 general election in Cambodia is generally regarded as of higher quality. And compared to previous elections, this one is far better and has been conducted successfully. There have been many complaints made regarding the safety of this package A. I have explained that there was nothing secret about package A. Before being put into it, all documents including Form 1101, 1102, 1108, used ballot and unused ballot were placed on table. On the polling and vote counting day, almost all the political parties' agents who were present in the polling station signed as witnesses on Form 1101, 1102, and 1108. We opened some safety package A and checked the enclosed documents, following which we published the results. And the decision to go through that process was, as you know, ordered by the Constitutional Council.
In addition, the NEC produced and published its 51-page-long white papers in Khmer and English. The white paper provides detailed information on all stages of the election process, such as actual figure of 2013 election, official and unofficial complaints, the voter list, and any alleged irregularity in every stage of election up to the announcement of the official results.
In short, the white paper states that firstly, the legitimate authority to handle complaint in the general election for the National Assembly are the NEC and the Constitutional Council. And secondly, the electoral calendar of the NEC clearly determines when and what to do. It is not uncommon in such a huge undertaking to have some shortcomings of a mechanical or technical type or minor breach of the many laws and procedures relating to the election, but which do not affect the fairness and impartiality of the election as concluded by the national and international election observer. These mistakes resulted from carelessness or lack of capacity of certain electoral officers. You may be well aware that shortly after the election, a number of national and international organizations positively evaluate the election and they request for peaceful resolution of remaining irregularities by the relevant electoral authorities in Cambodia.
To give further clarification of the truth to the voters, the Press and the Quick Reaction Unit of the Office of the Council of Ministers also produced its own white paper based on the information in the NEC white paper, and giving comprehensive explanation in response to the various allegations made by opposition party and certain civil society organizations which tend to support the opposition, misleading national and international public opinion, and accusing the Cambodian People parties, the NEC, of election fraud. The opposition party also repeatedly called for protests to demand the establishment of an independent commission, which is a new mechanism and a violation of the Constitution, the supreme law of the country, which has determined the competent authorities for dealing with the election and any complaints. To respond to this allegation, His Excellency Karemi, Secretary of State and Vice President of Press and Quick Reaction Unit, gave the following clarification to the media on the 12th September 2013.
We all know that the NEC annually updates the voter list by spending a period of 3 months for this process, including complaints, and being in the year preceding a general election, it was extended by an additional month. This period of 4 months is reserved for those who cannot find their name in the list or who notice any irregularity in their name, such as wrong spelling, address, or date of birth, to file complaint or appeals. I would like to inform you that during this 4 months period, there were very few complaints. It was very smooth during this 4-month period, but 7 months later, they began to file complaints. So the question is, when it was allowed by law to file complaints during the 4-month period, why they did not file complaints? Instead, they filed complaint 7 months afterward. This was a plan to discredit our national institution, the NEC established by law. I would like to inform you that the rate of voter turnout, 69.61% in Cambodia for the 5th mandate of the National Assembly, is higher than that of other countries such as the Philippines, India, and in particular the United States. In the United States, do you know what the voter turnout rate was? It was very low compared to the Cambodia rate of 69.61%. It was only 38%, while in the Philippines and India it was around 60.58%. This figure shows that the voter turnout rate in Cambodia is still very high. Regarding the issue of vote counting, observer and political party agents were present in all polling stations. Let me get to the specific. In each polling station, there were around 5 agents from the opposition party, while there were only 2 from the Cambodian People Party, CPP. By saying 5 against 2 in each polling station here, I refer to the number of agents from the trio of the Samransi Party, the Human Rights Party, and the Cambodian National Rescue Party, plus Comfrel and others. Thus, in total, we could clearly see that with regard to the number of observers and parties agents, both fully authorized and in reserve, there were only 2 from CPP and 5 from the opposition party. That is 2 versus 5. In addition, there was the participation of over 200 international observers, 292 observers to be precise. They were all former high-ranking officials, such as the 5-term President of the National Assembly of the Philippines, former Vice President of Indonesia, former Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, former Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of Korea, Chair of the National Election Committee of the Philippines, Thailand, and even Iraq and Iran. And they all confirmed that the election was held in a free and fair manner. When we do in-depth research within the community, we have found many people reporting that they are supporters of the CPP. As far as the recent election is concerned, in fact, it should have been CPP who was not satisfied and made complaints, and not the opposition party, because they were the one who prevented many of our supporters from voting. That was not normal at all. Now they accuse us of cheating in the election. Who would be silly to have cheated like this from 90 seats to 68? If we were to cheat, we would have increased it from 90 to 92 or 93 or more seats. How come we cheat by lowering our majority from 90 to over 60 seats? This would be called silly cheating.
His Excellency Dr. Sok An, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister in charge of the Office of the Council of Ministers, during his lecture explaining the Press and the Quick Reaction Unit PRU White Paper on 30 September 2013, attended by over 500 people, said that manipulation by the opposition party has made some voters who don't know the truth believe them.
There have been pronouncements that their party was cheated and that their party won the election. They make such proclamation and continue to reject the election results without any evidence. That is the same reason why we had a 6-month-long deadlock in 1998 and another more than 1-year-long deadlock in 2003. Why? The main reason was the then existing 2/3 formula. Following these repeated deadlocks in 2006, we removed this formula when all elected members of the National Assembly agreed on an amendment to the Constitution. The critical point in this amendment was to change the 2/3 majority formula to an absolute majority, 50% plus 1, to form a government. As we all know, the National Assembly has 123 seats. So 50% plus 1 is equal to 63 seats. Thus, a party that wins at least 63 seats in the National Assembly, like the CPP did this time, can proceed to form a new government without any deadlock at all. We have complied with all the procedures and we have no deadlock. The process is smooth. I will now go on to consolidate all facts about the election to reveal that from the very beginning, what we did is right and what they said and proclaimed is just manipulation. First, accusations have been made that it is a one-party National Assembly. In fact, it is not a one-party parliament whatsoever, since 8 political parties took part in the elections, with 2 political parties winning seats in the National Assembly. However, one party decided to refrain from taking their seats. The validity of the 123 seats has been announced, but they did not come to take their seat. So we could not afford to wait for them to join the National Assembly session. As I just mentioned, at least 63 are needed, yet the remaining 60 are also welcome. If we did not have 63, but only 60 for instance, we could not convene a session as it would not meet the minimum quorum. But now we will fully comply with the requirements stipulated in the Constitution and in the internal regulation of the National Assembly. Why should the Assembly session not be convened? No, it is not a one-party National Assembly as charged by the opposition. It is not a half pot of water, meaning incomplete. National Assembly It arises from the right process of multi-party democracy. Although they have so far decided not to attend the assembly sessions, they are welcome if they later decide to attend. We have known their intention from the outset. They do not act as sportsmen whatsoever. The only idea they have in mind is to get benefits. For us, if we lose the game, we accept defeat. Yet, if we win the game, we also accept our triumph. Doing so would avoid problems because it is fair. But when they win the game, they claim the bid money, and when they lose the game, they refuse to give the bid money to the winner. This creates problem. Besides, there have been many pieces of inflated and twisted information, such as that disseminated by Comfrel one day ahead of the election day, that the ink can be completely removed from people's fingers. This made voters confused and create a chaotic situation. However, no complaint about the ink have been made after the election came to an end.
Besides, there were also fabricated false information made by Comfrey one day before the election day that the ink would not be indelible, which created mass confusions and chaos. However, after the election, there was no complaints being made with respect to these matters. សម្ដេចអគ្គមហាសេនាបតីតេជោ ហ៊ុនសែន Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia.
This is the black ink issued that Comfrel had invented hours ahead of the election day in order to create confusion that the black ink can be easily removed. I had made my best to try to remove it, but finally it is almost 2 months now, and the ink has not yet completely disappeared. So, Comfrel, you should understand and bear responsibility for creating public confusion ahead of the election day in your capacity as a responsible non-governmental organization overseeing the election. The black ink we use is generously provided to us by a friendly country, India. The company is giant, famous, and owned by the state. In India, more than one company produced black ink. During UNTAC time, UNTAC also brought the ink from India, but not from this company. Thereafter, it has been the Indian government which has provided us the ink produced by a state-owned firm. I do not know the name of the company. The ink is a chemical substance which is indelible. I put my index finger in it, and as you can see, my finger is still stained with the ink. This ink has been used not only in our country, but also in India, Afghanistan, Malaysia, Nigeria, Singapore, a country with advanced technology, have also used the ink. South Africa and Thailand has also used the ink. Here in Cambodia, it is the first time in its history that the ink is said to be removable. In all the countries mentioned above, none have mentioned that. The ink has been used for a long time. Only Comfrel claimed the ink is easily removable. Ironically, days later, probably a week later, Mr. Kem Sokha participated in a public event. When he raised his hand to greet his supporters, a photographer shot his picture, capturing his finger still marked with the ink. The ink was still on his finger, but his mouth continued unabatedly to shout the ink is easily removable. Thus, he just shouts to make confusion and to twist the facts. David Morrow, an expert and observer from Confrel, wrote in an article that he tried but failed to remove the ink. In Ratanakiri, Karachi, and Mandolkari, David Morrow is an election observer invited by Confrel. This shows that the ink issue has no basis at all. It is a technical issue, yet accusations have been thrown at the National Election Committee. It is the technical achievement of the company that skillfully produced such indelible ink. It has been more than 2 months now, and I still cannot get rid of the ink from my index finger. Mr. David Morrow tried to remove the ink by different means, with lemon, soap, and many other substances. However, he failed to do so. So what the opposition has shouted is to create problems and to twist the truth. The ink is made from chemical substances, and it has been used by countries I have already mentioned. On the basis of these facts, the NEC did not carry out any manipulations. It is not unreasonable for me to use the word manipulation to describe the efforts to get people overexcited and angry and to incite hatred toward the NEC and the CPP.
Moreover, the international observers for the election has also emphasized the ink is indelible.
I put my fingers in the ink and used a toothbrush to remove it because I wanted to see with my own eyes if the ink can be removed. Unfortunately, I failed to remove it. Perhaps other people have special substances, but cheating indeed happens in every country in the world. Although the opposition and its allies have employed all the tricks to invalidate the election result, the act of the opposition have not exerted any impact on the creation of the fifth mandate of the National Assembly and government.
His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni.
Today is a splendid ceremony. I have the great pleasure to convene the opening of the first session of the fifth mandate of the National Assembly in the presence of Samdech and Excellencies, representatives elected by the people of Cambodia in the general election on 28 July 2013.
Talking about the general political atmosphere of Cambodia from the period of pre-election, election campaign, election to the present, there is no political deadlock or political crisis in Cambodia. Although the National Assembly and the Royal Government were legally formed in accordance with the Constitution, the opposition party is habitually stubborn, rejecting the election result when they lose. They fraudulently mislead the public and disrespect the Constitution by misinterpreting that the first session of the National Assembly shall be convened within 60 days after the announcement of the official election result. They allege that the National Assembly and the government are illegal and abnormal, under the pretext that the National Assembly is single-party assembly, and they allege that the first session of the National Assembly, if there is presence of at least 120 members, However, their intention to mislead the public was thwarted and refuted through a roundtable discussion of legal experts explaining that actually the National Assembly shall hold its first session within 60 days after the election day without the need for any quorum. Upon the convening by His Majesty King, according to the new Article 82 of the Constitution, in this context, the CPP received 68 seats, which is an absolute majority more than 50% plus one, and therefore there is no obstacle preventing the National Assembly from opening its first session.
New Article 82 of the Constitution states that the first session of the National Assembly shall open 60 days at the latest after the election, open the convening by the King. By having the presence of more than half of the members of the National Assembly, the process can be carried on. Because now our Constitution clearly stipulates in Article 76 regarding affairs related to elections that the elections shall be determined by the electoral law. We have another law, the law on election of members of the National Assembly, LEMNA, which determines which organization should be in charge of the management of the elections. What is the procedures? Both the Constitution and the LEMNA clearly indicated that the organization in charge of the elections is the National Election Committee, NEC. If the NEC's role is taken away, what laws and regulation are we relying on? We have none. That means we would be in violation of the laws and Constitution. Nowadays, the royal government, together with people, would like Cambodia to enforce the rule of law. In this regard, we must respect the applicable laws and existing mechanisms. If we establish a mechanism which is not regulated by laws, we would not be following the law, and this will lead to an illegal act. The Constitution of Cambodia does not allow any revolution or unrest in the society. People can peacefully demonstrate to demand, reject or complain in accordance with the Cambodia law on demonstrations. However, if we listen carefully to Mr. Sam Rainsy's words, which are not a call for peaceful demonstration, rather they are incitement and intimidations. Also, another mistake was the letter sent to the United Nations, given that the United Nations is an intergovernmental organization which works only with the government of each member state. Therefore, a political party, a member of the National Assembly, or a politician is entitled to have a normal communication, dialogue, but not to make a formal request for the United Nations to take action, as was done. This is another example of how Mr. Sam Rainsy has been manipulating the public.
The opposition party, after being defeated in the election, has used all tricks through repeated lies and shamelessly inciting people into believing their intentional trick. Furthermore, the opposition party used Buddhism, which is highly venerated by the people of Cambodia, as a tool, inciting a number of monks to disobey the religious rules. In addition, their attitude show a lack of respect to His Majesty The king, who from time to time has played a vital role in maintaining peace, security, political stability, and who is a referee in solving national issues to ensure the proper functioning of the public institution in accordance with Article 9 of the Constitution. To the contrary, the opposition party ignores the invitation of His Majesty the King by boycotting the meeting of the National Assembly, continuing demonstration, demanding the establishment of an independent commission, calling for an international community not to recognize the election results, and asking donors to stop providing all donations, etc. In actual fact, this misleading behavior is really aimed at demanding the position of the President of the National Assembly.
Are the kings and all the public institutions that followed the Constitution wrong? Or is the other group wrong? And here, yesterday, the door was not closed to prevent anyone from entering. Don't be confused. Also, the only place for the assembly to meet is in Phnom Penh. What does it mean to take their oath in the province? Moreover, they announced that they had 63 elected members. Where does this figure come from? This issue is to be raised as a legal question because it is not the NEC's official figures. And the king invite only 55, not 63 members. Do they want to establish another sovereign state? Please do not go beyond the legal framework. I think that we do not close the door. However, firstly, I would like to say that if they want to have further negotiation, first they must take their oath as members of parliament. If they have not yet taken their oath, they should not raise the issue of negotiations with the CPP and not bargain by the putting forward as a condition for such oath taken that they are offered the post of President of the National Assembly.
These are the opposition party's leader ambition to bargain for power for their cronies for the general election for the fifth mandate of the National Assembly. According to the spirit of the simple majority 50% plus 1, the new National Assembly and the royal government are formed in conformity with the Constitution of the Kingdom of Cambodia.
Had His Majesty the King not signed the royal decree appointing the Prime Minister, I would not have the chance to form this royal government. We are obliged to protect the nation, religion, and the king. We must protect the king. I wish for the monarchy to last forever in the Kingdom of Cambodia, from one generation to the next. Some say that the royal government does not enjoy the recognition from this or that person. For us, the legitimacy of the royal government should not come from the Secretary General of the United Nations or anyone else. The only person to do so is His Majesty the King. Likewise, the first session of the National Assembly is not to be convened by the United Nations or any foreign nation as proposed by someone. According to the Constitution, Article 82, His Majesty the King is the only person with the power to do so, despite anyone's own interpretation. There is no need for the UN or the signatory of the Paris Peace Agreement to recognize it. In relation to this issue, I would also need to emphasize that the Paris Peace Agreements have been integrated into the Constitution of the Kingdom of Cambodia. This means that we don't need to resort to the Paris Peace Agreement as we already have a constitution. As of now, they continue to talk about an incomplete or not fully legal government and National Assembly. I would say to them that they cannot hold us hostage. We are starting the engine now. Why were only members of the CPP present in the first session of the National Assembly? It was because the members from the opposition party did not come. Even if they had come, they would not have voted for my team anyway. His Excellency Sam Rainsy said, and I have a copy of the minutes ready for him should he need one, and I would do the same for His Excellency Kem Sokha should he need one. If they still stage demonstration, we should just broadcast it or post it on Facebook. My side has made so many compromises. Firstly, I have stopped demanding the setup of a new mechanism to investigate election irregularity, while at the same time, his demonstrator held up a big banner stating this very demand. Mr. Sam Rainsy said this on the second day, and this is the first point. Secondly, he said, I accept the allocation of 68 seats of the National Assembly for the CPP and 55 seats for the CNRP. And he repeated this a few times. That means he already acknowledged at the negotiation table the 68 versus 55 seats. We have a clear voice recording and written note about that, and we don't know whether they are betraying each other or cheating each other. We can distribute the written notes we took should they need them, and if they take further risk, we will post the recording of his voice on Facebook. He clearly acknowledged 68 versus 55 seats. Thirdly, he affirmed that his side will support Samdech as Prime Minister. He used the word to affirm Samdech as Prime Minister. I asked him to correct what he said. This is not a compromise because the 68 seats that the CPP won does not come from a compromise, but from the votes given by the people. Neither do I need their support to be Prime Minister, as this is the people's decision. Now, if he mobilized the people to hold further demonstration, it is pointless because their leader have already recognized the election result at this meeting. Now, if he takes the risk of staging further demonstration, we will release that document for the people to judge his different words in the meeting and outside the meeting. We will broadcast his voice if he still constantly changes his position. He already recognized, firstly, to have ceased demanding the setup of Irregularities Investigation Commission. Secondly, to have accepted the 68 seats of the National Assembly for the CPP and 55 seats for the CNRP. And thirdly, to support Samdech as Prime Minister. However, he continued, I would ask for a concession from your side so that people from my side will become the President of the National Assembly, and how to make arrangement so that both sides would have balance in the permanent commissions. I asked him immediately, Are you interested in positions or in the balance of power? He demanded not only the chair of the six commissions we had offered them, but he was also demanding the position of President of the National Assembly. The story goes like that. The problem was not because of the result of the election, but because of their demands for the president, and the six of the commission have not been met. I would leave this to our people to judge whether they wish to join these opposition leader in a demonstration. They should ask themselves why they should join them when their leaders already recognize the election result. The problems then was the CPP does not agree to offer them the position of the president and half of the commissions of the National Assembly. We cannot afford their demand because that would tie our hands when we need to pass important law. For example, the annual budget law. Normally, we send the letter of request to the President of the National Assembly, to the President, not to the Vice President. If the President were to read and throw away such a letter, we would die. I briefly remember what I said then, that it is the first time in history that I heard and saw a political party with minority support demanded to have the post of President of the National Assembly. You may tell me if there are any in the world. I do not talk about the U.S. administration, which has adopted a presidential system of government. Sometimes there, the president and his party hold the post of president and at the same time also control both the lower house and the upper house in Congress. Or sometimes the party of the president has a majority in the lower house but is in a minority in the upper house. In the U.S., the upper house is stronger than the lower house. Instead, I would like to talk about the parliamentary democracy similar to our country. In Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and others, the party that won the election hold the post of President of the National Assembly, including France, which has adopted a semi-presidential system. In France, people vote separately to choose the President and the National Assembly. The National Assembly elected its President and approved the formation of the government. Therefore, any party that wins the election hold the post of the President of the National Assembly and it vote to choose the Prime Minister. It is a very odd situation in Cambodia. They do not join the National Assembly session, not because they reject the election result, but because they cannot have the post of the President of the National Assembly.
As Samdech Techo Hun Sen revealed to the people, what His Excellency Sam Rainsy really demanded was indeed the position of President of the National Assembly, as he has said in several places, both inside and outside the country, and as echoed by some media. For instance, on 25 September 2013, at the Cambodia National Rescue Party's office in Chang Rele, Phnom Penh, His Excellency Sam Rainsy stated,
If we want to start rebuilding the country, the first step is to strike a balance of powers. That is, the Cambodian People Party provisionally leads the executive body and the Cambodia National Rescue Party provisionally leads the legislative body while waiting for the facts to be revealed concerning the recent election result.
Hence, the reiterations on the electoral irregularity or the demand for the establishment of an independent committee was just an excuse to only hide their trick. How long will people keep believing the deception of the opposition party? To serve their ill purpose, the opposition party's leaders have been going around collecting thumbprints of people on a petition to the United Nations asking this august organization to reject the election result. The National Assembly and the newly appointed Royal Government of the Fifth Mandate. However, such an attempt failed, as stated by His Excellency Kagum, Minister attached to the Prime Minister in the afternoon of 10 October 2013. Following the meeting between Samdech Techo Hun Sen and His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of the United Nations, during the ASEAN Summit in Bandar Seri Begawan, Brunei Darussalam.
As it can be seen, the meeting between Samdech Techo Prime Minister and the Secretary General of the United Nations was a bilateral dialogue called by the Secretary General of the United Nations. At the meeting, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon congratulated and expressed his appreciation to Samdech Techo Prime Minister for the victory in the election for the fifth mandate. Besides, he welcomed the election, which was conducted in a smooth and peaceful manner.
Unlike the accusation of the opposition party of electoral fraud and of intimidating and threatening voters, the opposition party activists were in fact the masterminds and the ones who committed aggressive acts provoking troubles and violence, preventing people from voting and causing unrest in the society. By such acts as destroying and burning the vehicles of the Phnom Penh military police on election day and blocking the voters in the VM district from voting. Alleging those voters were Yuan, Vietnamese, and so on. Another unrest-provoking act was that the opposition party invented and publicized its own provisional election result, proclaiming that their party had won the election. The reality that the Cambodia People Party received 3.2 million votes and the Cambodia National Rescue Party received only 2.9 million votes. As a matter of fact, the accurate election result in this fifth mandate that the Cambodia People Party won 68 seats and the Cambodia National Rescue Party only 55 seats. However, the Cambodia National Rescue Party make an exaggerated claim that their parties won 63 seats, and sometimes they have even said they won 73 seats or 76 seats without providing any proof. The opposition party should put an end to the culture of manipulation by labeling other political parties, while itself have been committed a wide array of immoral acts, especially inciting racial discrimination and hatred. Despite such acts committed by opposition, none of the human rights organizations, which usually proclaim themselves to be the defenders and promoters of human rights, have issued any statement to condemn those acts. These show that those human rights organizations have been applying double standards on human rights in Cambodia. In contradiction to the allegation by the opposition party, what is striking is that the international election observers from ICAP and CAPD all highly evaluated this election, showing that multi-party liberal democracies in Cambodia has been firmly established. Cambodia is a sovereign state with a rule of law, having a clear judicial mechanism and regulations in a place with regard to election and to the resolution of electoral dispute. The NEC announced the provincial election results on 12 August 2013, and all complaints of irregularity were transparently and impartially settled by the NEC and the Constitutional Council before the official election results were announced on the 8th September 2013. The royal message of His Majesty the King, dated 30th August 2013, clearly stated that any resolution to the national conflicts should be based on the Constitution and refer to the competent institution as set forth in our Constitution and laws. In short, the opposition party does not have any justification to clearly prove that they deserve to be the leaders of a political party. Rather, they exploit the power of manipulation, lies, and misleading the public. Although the opposition parties and its allies have been using all tricks in order to destroy the election result, the truth remains. The National Assembly and the Royal Government were formed and have been performing their duty in accordance with the Constitution and the law without any obstacle. His Excellency Deputy Prime Minister Sok An.
As we all know, our National Assembly is composed of 123 seats. So 50% plus 1 equals 63 seats. Thus, if a political party received at least 63 seats of the National Assembly, that party can form a government by its own without any deadlock or problem at all.
សម្ដេចអគ្គមហាសេនាបតីតេជោ ហ៊ុនសែន Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia.
I would like to announce the implementation of the rectangular strategy phase 3 from now on. Thank you.